What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. We got some interesting testing for you today. Palmetto State Armory has released their AAC ammunition line. They did that a while ago, but now they have their 7.62x39 steel case AK ammo. Now this is really significant because our AK ammunition for the Tula and the Wolf type of stuff has been cut off. So in the gun community specifically, we always suffer when it comes to certain sanctions on Chinese and Russian goods. We've lost a lot of good ammo over the years. Most recently, we've lost the ability to import the Russian ammo that we all know and love that was cheap to feed the AKs, the mutants, the things like that. Anything that takes AK ammo, your SKS, and a lot of other firearms. Now back in pretty recent history, Tula and Wolf have both gone for under $5 a box easily, under $200 a case, delivered usually easily, but not anymore. We're paying 50 cents around for this stuff no matter what, for steel case. Now that's not even talking about the brass case stuff. Brass case you can pay more than $1 around pretty easily. It's worse than the 308 situation going on. It's really bad. But now Palmetto State Armory has released hopefully some relief for us. It's not as cheap as we would like it right now. We'll talk about prices here in 1 second. But at least we have a start. We have an American company making steel case ammunition to feed these type of beasts that we love. So price-wise, we're not doing very good on this stuff. Like I said, it's 50 cents around on average to even just go pick this stuff up. If you're talking about shipping, it could be even worse. This AAC stuff is clocking in at right around 50, 52 cents around, depending on what kind of sales you're gonna hit. So it's not a good price advantage at the moment, but hopefully if they do well with it, they can bring the price down. Now there's always gonna be competition for price. I don't know what would drive the price down on it, but at least we have it here. Let's see today the quality of it compared to this Russian stuff that we're used to using, shooting, getting. The Russian stuff works pretty good. In this mutant here, this is a CMMG Mark 47 Mutant, works really well. Has a 16-inch barrel, 1 in 10 twist. It does group very well out of this rifle for steel case ammunition. Now this is a Wasser 10 over here, made by Kugir, however you want to say it, in Romania. That's also a 16-inch barrel. A little bit more than 16-inch, but pretty close. And that has a 1 in 10 twist also. All these ammunitions that we're used to, these Russian ammunitions, that's what these guns are made to eat. They function flawlessly on them. I've actually had bad luck with brass case ammunition out of my Mutant as far as group-wise. But we got to put this AAC stuff to the test because, like I said, these other two, they work great in these firearms. Let's see how this stuff does. We're also going to take a good visual look at all three of these ammos and then compare them. We're going to break them down and see what the components are all about. We're going to measure things. We're going to see what's going on because there are rumors and some videos, there's actual evidence that this AAC stuff, at least at first, was coming out of the factory a little bit out of spec. We're going to chronograph it to see what kind of velocities we get, and we're definitely going to check the accuracy at 50 and 100 yards using these Romeo 5 setups from SIG. The reason I'm using these optics is because this is kind of a battlefield optic. I'm not going for anything magnification wise. These are the optics that are always on this gun. These guns. So I'm very used to them. No reason to change for this. We're getting practical accuracy out of it. I'm not going to put a 25 power hunting scope on this to do this test. This is what most people run on AK type of guns, at least in my opinion. So far there's been two different ways I've seen this ammunition for sale. It's been by the 20 round box or the 250 round can. It's pretty cool. You get a can with things. We can always use cans to store things away. So this one has never been opened before. This is totally brand new. Comes with a little piece of paper and it's just one pretty thick plastic bag. So there's the bulk ammunition, but get a semi-sturdy. It's not the best, but it's kind of like those Plano boxes we're used to. So there's our big bulk bag of ammunition. Let's get it cut open. And by the way, these, let's see what this is. This is an Outdoor Edge 3-inch Onyx EDC knife with these interchangeable or replaceable razor blades. I highly recommend those. I know nothing about the company, but really slick knife. So let's take a look at this ammunition up close compared to these other two.
All right, on the left we have the Tula. We have 122 grain projectile full metal jackets in all of these offerings. Here we do not see a cannular. We do not actually even see a crimp on these that I can see. I do see a little bit of a ring here that you can see on the base from some of the sizing of some of these cases. Now moving over to the AAC ammunition, we do see a cannular. That would be that little ring right there that you see stamped into the bullet that the crimp groove would usually settle into. But like I said, these do not appear to be crimped either. These cases do look a little nicer. I'm not noticing that sizing ring down towards the base, and the actual piece of steel that it's made out of looks a little bit nicer color. They have something on it called, I believe, Soviet Slick. Usually any of these steel case ammunitions will have some sort of a lacquer or whatever coating on it. Palmetto State calls theirs Soviet Slick. Now, the projectiles do look the same as far as color, so they have the same type of washing on them possibly. When we move over here to the Wolf, we'll see a different color on the wash. It's just a different type of a copper. Again, we're seeing a little bit of that ring at the base of the steel, and the steel does look dull again. It looks like the Tula ammo a lot. There is no cannular here. So one thing about cannulars is that they can, when they take the proper crimp, they can make a little bit more consistency with ammunition as far as velocity and therefore downrange performance. It holds everything together during the combustion process just a little bit more. Now, going back to the cannulars, we're going to have to take a look at this cannular here on the AAC ammunition. This has been a point in some other videos and some other threads, things that we've read, and that is that the cannular or seating depth position is not consistent from round to round, and you can notice that here. Supposedly it's been corrected in the newer batches, but this is a very fresh batch of ammo. So you'll notice you can see more cannular on this round than you can on this round, and definitely more than you can see on that one, and you can almost see none on this round. Now that could be two different things. That could be this, in my opinion, that could be the sizing of the brass, or in this case steel. So the overall trim length of this steel could be different, therefore it settles on a different part of the bullet. Or the bullet could be set at different depths, therefore making the groove go up or down. We're going to check that when we take this apart. But it is something to notice that there's a cannular in there for a crimp groove, but it is not crimped and it's irregular depths for that cannular. All right, so on the right of your screen, you see the Tula that has a light brass colored primer in there, and then you have a stainless steel looking primer in the AAC head stamped ammo, and finally on the Wolf you just have a little bit of a darker color brass. So these two Soviet models here on the right and left, these are Berdan primed, but supposedly this is a Boxer primed one here from Palmetto State, or AAC. That makes this a little bit easier to reload. They are claiming that this is a reloadable case. We will check that. We will try that out. I've never reloaded steel case ammo, but supposedly you can as long as you don't let it weather and get rusty. We will check it out. We will try it. That'll be a different video. All right, starting with a round of the Tula ammunition, we have disassembled it using a kinetic bullet puller, and I've taped the back of it so that we wouldn't lose any powder. But here is the powder. It's a stick type of powder of some sort, obviously some Russian mixture. We have settling out at exactly 25 grains of powder, so that's pretty good. If they were going for 25 grains, they got it. Let's see what the projectile weighs. The projectile appears to be a true full metal jacket of some sort with a lead core. It's got a hollow base, exposed lead base. I'm sure it's washed. It's probably some sort of a steel that's been washed with copper, but that settles out at 122.4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that. And despite having no cannular or crimp on this round, it did take a lot of hits with a kinetic puller to pull it out of here. So the neck tension was very good. All right, next is the Wolf, and that powder does appear to be the same type of stuff, maybe just a little bit different color, but it's still the same type of stick powder, a little bit of yellowing in there mixed with the gray type of color. And let's see what this weighs in at. So that settles in right at about 24.8 grains of powder, pretty close to the 25 that was in the Tula ammo. Like I said, it looks the same. It could totally be the same powder. Let's see what the projectile itself weighs. It comes in at 122.6, let's call it that. And it looks very similar to the Tula ammo. So side by side, it looks like the same round. It looks like the same bullet. I think they're a little bit different. Let's measure them out here at the end. Let me get the AAC opened up first though. All right, now we have the AAC bullet deconstructed. This one had really good neck tension on it also, as did the Wolf. I forgot to mention that. But here we go. Here's something different. We have a definite spherical powder here. This isn't really the flat flake stuff. This is spherical. These are little round balls. So totally different. Let's see what it weighs in at. Let's get a 0 first. All right, so we're gonna weigh in at 25.1 grains of powder. 25, so pretty close to the same amount of powder as the other stuff, just totally different type of powder. And even though it's the same weight, I'm gonna have to call the projectile totally different. Like I said, we do have a cannular in here. We seem to have more of a rounded off boat tail, in my opinion, kind of. And then we have another exposed base, but it's not the same. It doesn't look like as thick of a jacket around it. Looks like more lead stuffed in there, at least at the base portion. The projectile weighs in at 123.1 grains. I'll pull it out of there. I'll make sure that we are zeroed. It's a little bit windy out here, but check that one more time. 122.9, 123. A lot of times when it comes to 7.62x39 ammunition, you will find offerings in 121, 122, and 123 grain. This bullet itself appears to be a 123 grain. All right, just so we can average this a little bit, I pulled another AAC projectile, and we have 123 grains. So that's the second one that is at 123 grains. So now pulling a Wolf projectile again for a second time, we have 119.8. So that's not living up to the 122, that's going on the opposite end. Let's pull one more Tula. All right, I have another Tula pulled, and we're gonna clock in at 123.4. So we rode a little bit high on that one. So a little bit of inconsistency across the board here with all three of them as far as advertised weight. So I think this would be a good time to point out that if you are making a switch from one ammunition, let's say either one of these, to something like this, you do have to re-zero your rifles or confirm your zero, because all these projectiles could act a little bit differently, especially this one being a different design. But the different weights that can come with these different types of ammunition, whether it's listed or whether it's real, you need to go ahead and reconfirm zero when you're switching, or even just from case to case. Usually within the same lot you're okay, but if you're going from this to this, double check your zero, guys. All right, I'll make this quick, but we just want to see the differences in bullet lengths. So we have 0.920 on a Tula, and then on another Tula, we are at 0.922. Let's move over to a Wolf, because that'll be similar. 0.920. We'll take a second one, 0.918. So those are pretty close. You're going to notice a difference here, though, when we get to the AAC. Now we are at 0.865. And sorry if the audio is a little bit messed up. It's because I'm real close to the camera right now to get this angle. And 0.862. So definitely different. They're all going to be within the proper 0.309. That's probably going to actually be a, 0.310. But things get squished around a little bit in the loading process sometimes, or this caliper might not be perfect. Put 0.309, 0.309. Yep, so we're consistent there. That's to be expected. We're gonna check case length, because that's important as far as where that cannular sits. We got 1.517 on a Tula, and another Tula, 1.517, so that's consistent. Let's go to the Wolf, 1.518 and 1.517, pretty close. The AAC is 1.521, and here's another one at 1.523. We'd have to pull a whole bunch of them to get averages out of it. Now let's measure the actual loaded cases or loaded cartridges themselves. All right, and cartridge overall length matters here for what we're talking about. This has come up specifically with this type of ammo. We have here the Handbook of Cartridge Reloading from Hornady. It's a very good, reliable book, and if you'll notice, 7.62x39, which is what we're dealing with here, has a maximum cartridge overall length of 2.2. That's it, 2.200. So let's come on over here to the Tula ammo. That's the Wolf, but fine, we'll start with Wolf. We have our caliper zeroed out, and we are setting right there at 2.189, 2.189, 0.5, 2.189. I'll take another Wolf just to double check, re-zero that caliper, and we are sitting at 2.191, 2.1915, 2.19, somewhere in there, but we are under that 1.2. Now let's move on to what would be the Tula ammo. Make sure that caliper is zeroed. The Tula ammo is measuring in at 2.1915, 2.190, 2.1915, and this is all to do with how much pressure I put on this little roller here, but I'm trying to be fair with it. Let's pull up another one. That's why you see variances sometimes when you turn things. These things are actually pretty sensitive. 2.186, 2.189, 2.1855. All right, so both of those fit within the 1.2. Now we're going to go over to the AAC, and I picked two right now that look like they have that cannular sticking up just a little high. We're going to zero that back out again, or make sure it's zeroed. And now when we measure this, I'm giving it a fair shot. It's holding itself. We have 2.204. So now we're going over what that book says is our maximum cartridge overall length. 2.205, 2.2065. Let me pull another AAC. And we are 2.208, 2.206. So that is above cartridge overall length. This could be a problem feeding in certain magazines sometimes. The maximum cartridge overall length is designed for a reason, so this could have a problem. Let's pull some of them with the shorter seeming cannulars and see where they measure at. So here we've pulled two that have a seemingly little deeper set bullet, or it could be the metal case. We're going to find out right now. And that one sets at 2.19. So it is a bullet depth issue, in my opinion, or a seating depth issue, 2.19. So when these ones are sitting where they appear to be proper in the crimp groove or the cannular, these two are fitting fine within the parameter of the book, and this one is not. So what did we learn from doing all that nerdy measuring stuff? We learned that steel case ammo in general, which we already are going to know this, is not totally match grade ammunition. Some of the cases can be a little bit out of spec as far as case trim. The powder charges are not going to be totally consistent. That's with most ammos. These things are not, like I said, match grade rounds that are made. However, we have learned that the AAC ammo is out of spec. So it can be inconsistent with ammo to a point. You know, you have a little bit of parameter to work with. But when it's out of spec to the point where it's beyond certain numbers that you're not supposed to go through, we could have problems. We're going to find all this out now in the shooting portion. But like I said, that was a problem that came up in other videos, and it'd be nice to see if they could correct it. When I look through this bag, I see more of these cannulars that appear to be set too long, or bullets appear to be set a little bit too long. So hopefully we don't have feeding issues, but we're going to see. All right, now we're just going to see about runability. We're going to put 25 rounds of each type of ammo through the exact same magazine through each one of these firearms on that steel behind me. We're not checking accuracy or anything like that. We're just trying to see how the ammo feels, maybe how much smoke it makes, maybe, you know, what kind of stink it might make, but just to make sure that it runs. All right, we're going to start with the Tula and the Wasser, and we are using YouTube compliant magazines. That is for sure. That should have been the last one. Felt good. Normal stuff that we always run. Let's do 25 rounds of the Wolf. All right, 25 rounds of Wolf going in. I expect no problems here. All right, they all ran. I'm not sure if that was 25, but it was close. Now I've loaded up the AAC, and I just wanted to say that I picked random ones out of the bag. I didn't look for ones that were properly seated or at the proper depth. I didn't have any problems loading. If it was too long to where it was going to impede the magazine here, they would be sticking out just far enough where they wouldn't actually go down. They would hang themselves up. I've seen that in other videos. Me today personally loading this magazine with 25, I did not have that problem. Let's see how it runs. 25 AAC, ready to roll. They all ran. That might be just a little less smoky than normal, but they all ran. No problems going through the magazine, despite some of them probably being a little bit too long. All right, now we have a totally different beast. We have the AR style with AK magwell, so we can take AK magazines. YouTube compliant, of course. We have 25 rounds of the Tula ammo loaded up. I love this rifle. It usually functions with just about anything you can ever throw at it. Let's see how she works today. I'm sure she'll do good with the Tula. It's ran plenty of it before. Again, no bolt hold open on this style of firearm with these magazines, but she did run them all. Let's get some Wolf loaded up. All right, 25 rounds of Wolf ready to go. And now you can see why that steel plate is so beat up and has a hole in the dead center of it, but it ran just fine. Again, no bolt hold open because that's not how it works. They all ran. All right, let's grab the AAC. All right, 25 rounds again, AAC this time. We are using the magazine that is for this gun, but it has been the same magazine for these past 2 ammos, so now the 3rd one. No problem feeding in that one either. Just grabbed random rounds. No problem chambering. Let's see how they run. They all ran. Very good. Very nice. They passed that part of the test. All right, for the chronograph and velocity portion of the testing, we're going to use the AK because that's probably what most people are going to use this ammo for. We have the same magazine we've been using. We're going to do 10 rounds instead of the typical 5 rounds. We want to get good numbers for you, and it's also just another tiny functioning test. We're not going to aim at any particular place downrange. We're just focused on getting some numbers. All right, up first is the Tula. We have 2360, 2330, and then it went to an air. 2353, 2338, 2322, 2367, 2372, 2332, 2337, 2285, and that was it for that. So those are the numbers from the Tula ammunition out of that 16-point-something inch barrel from the Wasser 10. All right, everything's the same except for this time we are dealing with the Wolf ammunition. The last one on the chronograph was 2285, and the Wolf is at 2334. 2366, 2360, 2358, 2351, 2341, 2318, 2312, 2340, 2289. And that was it. They all ran. And there are your numbers with all the same parameters, but this time Wolf ammunition. All right, AAC's turn. 10 more random rounds grabbed out of there. I'm not looking for the perfect ones or anything. Last number on the chronograph from the Wolf was 2289, and the AAC produces an error. And then 2279, 2326, 2345, 2366, 2316, 2336, 2337, and another error, and let me go grab a couple more rounds just to get the numbers. All right, 3 more to try to defeat this Caldwell chronograph. 2317, and we completely knocked the steel target down that time. 2341, there's another steel target behind it, and we got 2308. And there are the numbers we produced today with AAC ammunition in that particular firearm today in this humidity with that particular chronograph at that particular distance. All right, accuracy testing time. The best that we can do with an AR platform and a red dot sight with no magnification. We have targets set up at 50 yards and 100 yards. We have 3 targets set at each distance. We're going to do, of course, the Tula, the Wolf, and then the AAC. Again, a 16-inch barrel, a 1 in 10 twist. I'm going to be shooting the 50-yard targets prone on a mat, and this optic is zeroed for 50 yards. I'll be doing the 100 yards actually on top of the picnic table. All right, we're gonna give you 10 rounds for each one of these ammos on each one of these targets. We want to give you a good representation. Like I said, this rifle is zeroed for this distance. I'm gonna take my time in real life, but I'll speed it up for you so you don't have to watch me with this excruciating time in between shots. Left target. All right, now we're going to be on the middle target with the Wolf. All right, time to see what the AAC does. We have 10 rounds loaded up again. And I'm going to take my time again. All right, that was 10. All right, so without even doing any measuring, we have the best group out of the Tula over there. That's a really nice group. I almost had every single one of them completely in the white. That was the opening sequence of shots. We tried to give the barrel plenty of time to cool down, about 15 minutes in between these 3 strings. Here's what we came up with the Wolf, and then this is the AAC. I would say that the AAC had a pretty tight group. There is one that dropped down here. I could go ahead and I can say that I felt that one of them, if I pulled any out of this whole string, I would say it was one, and that might have been that one right there. I can't say exactly what happened with a Wolf because I usually shoot Wolf pretty well out of that rifle. But if we discard this one, we have the best group out of the Tula, the second best group out of the AAC, the third best out of the Wolf. But we do have one that kind of jumped up here out of that also. But let's actually measure it really quick. At 50 yards, I was able to get a 1.397. With the Wolf, I would have to say that jumped up to 2.275. And that is exactly what we have with the AAC ammunition. Now, if we were to take out this flyer and this flyer, let's see what we get. And what I mean by flyer is just one that's not consistent with the group. We have a 1.259 out of the Wolf, and out of the AAC, we have a 1.665. Now, keep in mind, this is just me today laying prone with this particular rifle. Now, let's take it out to 100 yards all the way back there and see if we have any gross abnormalities. I usually can keep it under control pretty good with a red dot at that distance, but this will show us if we have any real wild changes at 100 yards. All right, first up, all the way left target is the tool ammo at 100 yards. All right, I felt pretty confident about all of those shots. The thing to know about the red dot at 100 yards, it's really not, there's no magnification, so it's not that easy, but it's the perfect size red dot at this brightness level that I have right now, where it just completely fills in that black circle and leaves me just a little black halo around the edge of it. So every time I pulled the trigger, I did feel that it was consistently within that halo. Keep in mind that you're still at the mercy of the 1 MOA dot itself. So that means no matter what, even a perfect shot, your group can be anywhere within 1 inch. Most likely though, as soon as you turn your brightness up a little bit, especially to see into the woods a hair, your group size will be bigger than 1 MOA no matter what. Let's go take a look. Not too terrible of a group for a red dot. We almost kept them all in the black. Our total group size was 4.29 inches. Let's see if anything changes with the Wolf. All right, next up is Wolf on the center target.
There we go. Let's see how we did.
All right, with the Wolf ammunition, we did keep it all in the black. That's a very reasonable group. It's actually about the same size as this group. This one might be a little bit bigger. I forgot the calipers. This is a long walk. We'll bring it on the next one for sure. But very nice group out of the Wolf. To keep it all in the black, I mean, this is 100-yard, if you needed to, headshot with a red dot. Pretty good stuff. Here, the same thing, except for you would just have to choose your, or change your zero a little bit, just because it's a different ammo. This is the ammo I typically run through this gun. Let's see what the AAC does. I'm assuming it's got to stay in here with these guys if it wants to hold its own.
All right, barrel's cool. I'm going to take my time for sure. I'm going to give it the best chance I can. Let's see how the AAC, let's see how it does down at 100 yards with the Mark 47 Mutant. Nothing's changed. Keep the same brightness on my reticle and everything. That was 10. I felt pretty good about all of them except for maybe shot number 2. If I did anything wonky, it was shot number 2. The rest of them, that dot was settled in real nice.
All right, let's start back at the Tula one, and I measured a little bit more carefully this time. We got 4.22, but keep in mind, like I said, as long as you're in the black, so if it was zeroed for that ammunition, it would definitely be within this black center here. Now let's move on over to what we got out of the Wolf. We had actually a little bit better group out of the Wolf, so let me adjust for that. So I think I got a pretty good center on those 2 holes right there. We ended up with a 4-inch group. Again, within that black circle, it is better than the Tula ammo. Let's see how the AAC did. Moving over here, I can tell you right now, it did get the best group. Now, don't worry about it being lower, because like I said, you zero your rifle to specific ammunition. So if it was zeroed, we'd have a better impact zone. But the actual group itself, this was just a broken piece, or yeah, broken piece of wood that flew back and broke that. So don't mind that, that's not a true bullet hole. But let me measure it out, our actual group. All right, I'm gonna say we got a 3.2-inch group. That's pretty good. That is the best group of all. That's where it would fit. You'd basically be within the 8 circle for sure. That's a really good group. We did improve. So maybe American-made quality did in the end catch up, or maybe it was just my shooting. Remember, this is that rifle today in these conditions on these targets with that dot. But we did get a really good group. I would not mind using this for practice, because we take these to practice all the time and we're totally happy with it. As far as accuracy wise, I'll take that. All right, we've got a lot of good information so far, but I want to be thorough, so let's continue. If you want to store this stuff up for long-term storage, which a lot of people do, go ahead and buy ammo in bulk and they try to store it. A lot of things can affect that ammo down the line in the future, or supposedly. We've done this test before with other ammunition, but I want to do this now. This is called the subject it to crap test. So we're going to have all 3 of these types of ammo that we've used today, and we're going to subject them to water, salt water, rem oil, which is basically just a gun oil. It's kind of a lighter one though, low viscosity, so it can creep a little bit maybe, and definitely one that might creep, some solvent. Everybody knows hops solvent. Now, why would you bother with these? Well, let's give you the explanation real quick. Water, we know, between normal water and salt water, that just gets on things all the time, moisture in general. But what if you've really heavily oiled your gun and maybe some of that oil has crept into maybe a magazine that you've left in your gun? Hops, a lot of people use this to clean their guns. What if you don't get it all the way off? So this is worst case scenario. This is like an accelerated wear test. We're going to put 3 rounds of each one of these ammunitions in these containers with these solutions or water, and then we're going to seal them up. We're going to leave them right here in the sun. We're going to leave them here for 1 week exactly. We're going to come back a week from now, shoot these things, or attempt to shoot them, and see how that has affected them. Now, they're steel case. We could have all kinds of corrosion. We don't know, but I'll shake them up every now and then throughout the week to make sure that they get plenty covered and saturated, and we'll just see what happens. Hopefully the Wolf and Tula don't corrode to the point we can't read the head stamp, but we'll know the AAC because that'll have the cannular. So 9 going into the water, 9 going into the salt water, 9 going into an empty jar, but we're gonna spray the crap out of it. So give that a good spray. It'll soak. Like I said, I'll shake it up every now and then. But there's definitely enough in there to creep around. Into the empty jar, 9 rounds, 3 of each. And then the leftover bottle of hops. It's a little dirty, but hey, even better. Gotta get a new bottle. Get these things all sealed up.
something a good shake, get that salt moving around, oil moving around, solvent moving around, and we're just gonna leave these here. I might move them around like I said on the table. We have them marked so we can see what they are. We'll see you in a week. Well, fast forward one really hot and muggy week in Ohio. We've had those things sitting in those jars for 7 days. I've rolled in some still photos to show the progression. They're really getting kind of nasty, the ones in water, but we'll clean them off real quick. We'll run them through the AK and we'll see what happens. Let's go take a look real fast just to see how they look right now. All right, let's start over here with the one that's got the hops on it. You'll notice that that liquid now, the hops, is turned a very green color. And that's because it's taking the copper wash or whatever wash off of those projectiles and some of those primers. You see some of those projectiles are almost silver or zinc colored looking. So that's definitely doing a number on them right there. The oil, that's not going to do so much visually. That's going to probably try to creep in through the neck or through the primer pocket. That's how any of this stuff is going to work its way in. But it's not going to do anything to tarnish the metal. If anything, it's going to preserve the metal, and the projectile does not seem to be affected, nor the primers. But it could work its way in there. When we get over here to the salt water, I've tried not to disturb it until just now, so that you can see it almost looks like it's just growing on there. If we shake it around a little bit, you'll start to see it fall off. But that's an awful lot of oxidization or ironation, whatever we want to call this. Let's not be too scientific, but shake that around, you can see how much rust has actually developed, at least some surface rust, and then you can see some deeper rust. The water, same thing. Pretty much shake off the surface rust in most spots, but it did do a lot of rusting. I'd say that the salt water is definitely doing more. We probably expected that. All right, I'm just gonna dump these out on paper, clean them up a little bit, organize them, and I'll make sure I do it on fast forward so that you guys don't have to go through all that. All right, we got them all cleaned up. We got them all organized and separated. We wanted to be extra careful of the ones that had some solvent on them and the ones that had the oil on them because we don't want to increase bolt thrust. You're not supposed to lubricate cases, at least not that much. They have whatever kind of lubrication or polymer coating that they put on them, but you don't ever want to oil rounds before you put them in your gun. As far as the salt water, we had to be careful to clean those off a little too because salting in guns is not good. But what we saw with the solvent is that the AAC projectiles actually seem to hold up better than whatever coating they have here. I'm assuming this is real copper, this is just a copper wash. I'm not totally sure. As far as the primers, the AAC primers, they start out normally silver. One of them turned yellow on us for some reason, but then you could see the primers are taking a little bit of a hit here on the Wolf and on the Tula ammo. They all just have different levels of being tarnished. Moving on to the oil, you're not going to see anything different really with that. Normal looking primers, normal looking cases, normal looking projectiles all the way across the board. I'll show them to you just so you can see them. Wolf and Tula all look good. When we got to the salt water, yes, we started corrosion on primers and cases, but again, the projectiles, they don't look that bad here on the AAC ammo. The projectiles don't look bad on any of them, but the cases definitely suffered more with the Wolf and the Tula ammo. The primers, they took a little bit of a beating there, and same thing here with the Tula ammo, but not horrible. We've left things outside and they've gotten worse. Coming to the straight water over here, we have just a little bit less tarnish on everything across the board. Salt water does just a little bit more damage, but they're all cleaned up, they're all ready to go. Let's get out there and fire them. All right, we're gonna go in this order: water, salt water, rem oil, and hops. I'm gonna load up 9 rounds. We're gonna start with Tula ammo, then go to Wolf, and then go to AAC. We're gonna repeat that 4 times. All right, starting with water. All right, again, the order will be Tula, then Wolf, then AAC. Tula went. That felt like a slight hang fire there to me. I could be wrong, we'll see it on video, maybe, maybe not, but that did feel a little bit weird in the trigger to me. And that one we have a dead primer, a hang fire, something. So we'll let that sit for a minute. We'll see if one even went in there. I still don't want to open it up because we're playing weird games here, but yes, there is a round in there. Let's remove this magazine and let's go ahead and remove that round. It was struck once. I'll try to strike it one more time. And no, that's not going to work, but I'm still going to let it sit here. So water has killed. What was that, camera guy? What were we on?
Wolf.
We were on Wolf. So we made it through the Tula, we were on the Wolf, and we had a problem. Let me go ahead and get that round out of this firearm. Alright, we still have, I can just visually see, one more Wolf, and then 3 of the AAC to go. So maybe we had a hang fire, I think, on that first Wolf. The second Wolf did not go off. I'm going to start holding on to this thing a little bit lower on the magazine. And no, again. So always keep pointed at a safe direction downrange when you have a hang fire situation or a no fire situation. And remove the source of ammunition and let's get this junk round out of here. Okay, so we have a very good strike, but we did not have a detonation. We will get that out of there. All right, AAC, you've got to at least hold up the Tula. That was a definite hang fire. That you guys had to have been able to perceive that. Hopefully I can put that on slow motion for you, but definite hang fire. You heard, for anybody that doesn't know what it is, you heard, it almost sounds like a muzzleloader. You heard boom, boom. It was 2 separate audible booms. You can definitely feel it through the gun. That's the primer going off, and then something's not right with the powder, and it's taking a minute for the powder to go ahead and ignite. That one felt better, and that one felt better. So that should be an empty gun. So with the water, we had a hang fire. Now I'm assuming the salt water is going to do something kind of similar. All right, we'll start with the Tula again. Salt water. Okay, all 3 of those went. Now we're going to move on to the Wolf, which gave us problems last time. That, in my opinion, was a hang fire. And I think that was just like the last time we started out with our first Wolf was a hang fire. Let's see what we get now. Nope. We're repeating things now. So we're on a dead round or a dead primer. We'll give that a second and then we'll chuck it out of here. I'm not going to worry about looking at it or restriking it or anything like that. We know what's going on. And that one went with maybe possibly a tiny little piece of a hang fire, but I'm not sure. We'll be on to the AAC for now. Let me double check my round count. Yep, we are definitely on AAC. 1. And that one is, at least for now, a dead round. So we have another no-go there. We'll give it a second and we will get it out of the firearm. All right, that one's out of there. And that one's not going to go either. So, yep, salt water can definitely wreak some havoc, and normal water also. Give this a second and get this out of the firearm. All right, those are no good. Let's move on. All right, loading in the same order. We load backwards. So AAC, and then Wolf, and then Tula. And they will come out opposite of that. Now, this has previously given us hang fire issues before when we've done this experiment. Let's see about today. That third one felt like it could have been a slight hang fire, but they've all gone so far for the Tula. Again, possibly a slight hang fire there with the first Wolf. I think there was a definite hang fire there in that one. And nothing there. I think that was pretty normal, but at least we got all 3 of them to go off. We have 2 in the magazine, 1 in the gun, which means we are on to AAC. 1, 2, with a possible hang fire, I'm not sure. That was a definite hang fire, but it fired the 3rd one. So things are getting in there. Now this is the one that I'm always interested about because Hops is pretty aggressive when it wants to clean things. As you can see, it's totally cleaning the coating off of some rounds, but let's go ahead and see what it actually does. I would always think that this is the one that's going to creep into the primers the most, but I have been wrong on that. So start out with Tula, of course, which Tula's been doing pretty good for us. That one went. That one went. And that one went. All right, Wolf. I think if anybody's going to give us a problem, it's probably going to be the Wolf. There was a hang fire there, so yes, something has gotten into that. There's a little bit of a hang fire there, in my opinion. And in there. They're very small. They're almost imperceivable, but they are there, in my opinion. Now on to what should be AAC. Let me double check. Yep. The poor Wasser has to take this abuse. And there we have a dead round. Again, point safe into a safe direction, and just hold on. It's not worth opening up that chamber if that thing might pop off on you later. I've never seen them really hold on for that long, but they say to wait about a minute or so. I've never really had that much patience, so let's get that one out of there. That one went ahead and went. And that one went. So, there we go. That testing in the books. So in conclusion, what's the turkey's opinion about the new 7.62x39 by AAC? I would say that at this price point, for training purposes at least, it's a go. We do have some inconsistencies in some of the measurements with the cartridge, but it functioned in the firearms that we used it in. It was very accurate in my opinion. We would just need to, like I said, zero the rifles to that specific ammunition. But at 50 yards and 100 yards, very acceptable. And as we saw at 100 yards, it was actually the best group. As far as dipping the ammo in different things to see how it would hold up to environmental factors, like I said, those are extremes. I think all of them experienced a little bit of a problem, at least in one of those solutions. Tula seemed to overall just do a little bit better than the rest of them, which is kind of weird because Tula and Wolf are made very similarly, but they all had just a little hiccup here and there. Being steel-cased ammo, it's not a good idea to ever get it wet or store it near any kind of solvents or anything like that. I would just say store it responsibly, sealed up in a can like they do when they put it in Spam cans. Ideally, if you can find ammunition that's primer sealed and bullet sealed, that's the best stuff to store away, but we can't always get our hands on that, especially things like Golden Tiger right now. You really can't get a hold of that. Me personally, I will be buying some more of this stuff so that I can take it to class, and therefore it'll be like a continuation of the test. We'll just keep running it and see if we have any problems down the line. I know that I can rely on the old Wolf and the old Tula stuff that I've always used, but it'll be nice to just keep going through this and see if we have any hang-ups or not. Personally, I'm not expecting anything as long as nothing goes beyond those measurement parameters that we already found out. And hopefully as AAC produces more of this stuff and more people buy it, the price might come down and the quality control might go up. If you found this video helpful, maybe give it a thumbs up and share it with someone else who might like it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and until we see you next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.